Hi, everybody. Welcome to Astrology Unplugged. I am your host, Rick DiClemente. This is the home of starself.com. I've been doing this about 42 years. This is about show number 192. Tonight, we're going to return to astrology talk. Last week, we covered the new healing device called the Healy, and all these after we're done on Thursdays about 9:30. It gets put up on YouTube about midnight that night. Tonight, I thought I would cover some of the heavy-duty planets because everything's just heavy, and I keep waiting to get off of this Pluto thing. I've been on this Pluto thing for 12 years now, and it just keeps getting heavier and heavier, so there's no reason to get off of it because that's what's happening. My other favorite thing to do is to just do charts. So maybe I'll do charts later if there's time and somebody hasn't been done, because that's always elucidating. I did not say hallucinating. I said elucidating. All right, so I thought I'd start off by something I saw today, and I've been sticking in like a voodoo doll. I keep sticking Dan Rather with a needle for the past 5 years. Like, say something. You know what's going on. Say something. He finally said it yesterday. I don't want him out there rabble-rousing, but we're in a lot of trouble. Say something. People trust you. So he finally spoke up. I will read a part of his. You can just go to Dan Rather on his Facebook page. You read the whole thing. I'm going to read one of the paragraphs out of it regarding Trump talking about he's not going to step aside if he loses. You know, we got to get rid of votes. You know, if you didn't have tests, you wouldn't have any illnesses. If you didn't have any votes, you wouldn't have any election. So you'd have no problem. Anyhow, that's kind of what you get with a Gemini sun and a moon in Sag. Kind of. All right. Let me switch over to that. This is reading off his page in Facebook. As you know, the president went to pay respects to RGB, and he got booed out of the place. He turned around and left, and the crowd was chanting to vote him out. What Donald Trump said today are the words of a dictator, to telegraph that he would consider becoming the first president in American history not to accept the peaceful transfer of power is not a throwaway line. It is not a joke, because he does not joke, and it's not prospective. The words are already seeding a threat of violence and illegitimacy into our election process. And there's much more to that. I'd encourage you to go read it. Anyhow, he's telling us that the time is real, and here we are. Now, Liza and I have been watching these planets very closely for a long time. We knew this years ago, but we couldn't say it, because you have to be really responsible when you're an astrologer, because other people can't fight you. They don't have the tools. They don't understand it. And a lot of people think that we see concretely, and we don't. We see archetypally. It's almost as bad. Archetypally means we see the kind of thing that's happening, but so many people think that we can see concretely. Yes, you'll meet a man, he'll be 6'6", Friday night, he'll be leaning against the pole at 7:30. That's the old astrology. That might happen in Southwest Texas. That doesn't happen here. We're welcoming the doctor back. So tonight I want to do several things. I have prepared a simple chart that I made it into a graphic because I really don't need many moving parts, because these planets aren't moving very much. I want to get you up to speed to what's happening so you understand it. Why have I been watching for 40 years all these planets and Jupiter and Saturn and Mars and full moons and eclipses, and all of a sudden I'm not watching anything except Saturn, Pluto, and Eris? Why? Because it's so major, and the other stuff's like playing tiddlywinks compared. That's why. Can't you feel it? You can feel it. Something's happening out there. Here's why. Okay, let's get started. Here's the graphic. This is a chart from today. I noticed I took all the planets out except Pluto and Saturn and then Neptune and Eris. I took the planets out. I gave you a different kind of chart wheel. So this is the whole sign of Capricorn. This is the sign of Sag. This is the sign of Scorpio. You don't need to pay any attention to the houses in this regard. Just pay attention to the signs of the zodiac. That's what this particular wheel style is good for. Here's the sign of Virgo. So what do we see? Pluto has entered Capricorn back here, 2008. It will leave 2023. We see where Pluto is now at 22 and a half. Okay? Let's get an idea. You really have to get an idea what the speeds of these planets are to really get a feel for it. Pluto goes around every 256 years. 256 years. X is the spot that I put on there today, which is where Pluto started at on the 4th of July in 1776. Pluto has been traveling around this direction ever since we've been born. And right now, you see how close it is. And this X at 20 is at 27. So it's within 4.5 degrees right now. And matter of fact, it's so close, you may as well consider it has already returned. So Pluto is returning. The Pluto return means it's returning to where it started from. And it ain't even uptight yet. This is nothing compared to what's going to happen when Pluto gets to 24 and 25 and 26 and finally gets to 27. That X is at 27 and a half. Now, you can look at other countries if you care to do the research and try to see what started and what returned 256 years later, approximately. It's not easy work. Okay, let's talk about the Pluto return. When a planet returns, such as your sun on your birthday, and Jupiter every 12 years, and Mars every 2 years, Saturn every 28 years, when a planet returns, it is time for like the finals of the seed that you planted when that planet started. And it's kind of like the mentor comes back and says, well, 28 years ago, you planted that Saturn in that soil, and now we're back to inspect how well did you do? How well did it grow? Did it grow? Did it not grow? And you look at the whole contest through the eyes of the nature of that planet. In case of Pluto, Pluto has to do with the use of power, powerful influences, especially the abuse of power. When you see these stories of these really powerful people that go out and just put the world on their back and they save everybody's butt all around them, that's because they got a strong Pluto. So Pluto has a really good, powerful, strong, good side. And it has a really nasty Charles Manson side too. So the Pluto return, that's only 4 degrees away, is already well within the return orb. Mr. Tarnas gives it 15 degrees, so we're within 4.5 now. So that's one thing that's happening. One. Now, Pluto has been going back and forth to 23, 24, goes back to 21. You see right now the RX, by the way, which is red, indicates retrograde. So Pluto and 7 other planets right now are moving backward. By the way, what's the RX about? RX is another name for a natal chart, which is the word radix, RADIX. And this is why doctors would put RX on your doctor slip when you visited the doctors in the 19th century. It meant I have seen the natal chart. The doctor put RX on your paperwork when you're leaving the doctor's office. Yes, nurse, I have seen the natal chart. That's what RX stands for. I've seen the radix chart. Now to us, we've turned it into drugstore and paraphernalia. Isn't that intriguing? So if somebody tells you we're going to see the radix chart, just another word for natal chart, birth chart. Natal, birth, radix, all the same thing. I thought that was kind of intriguing. Now, so Pluto is going to get to 24, 25 and go back and forth. It's not going to go into Aquarius until February after next. February 22. Then it's going to go back into Capricorn and go back into Aquarius and stay there. And it'll be in Aquarius for about 16, 17 years. It's in Capricorn for about 15. It was in Sag for 13. Its shortest stay is 13. It was in 13 years from 1995 until 2008. And therefore, its longest stay is over in Gemini, where it stays for 30 years. And that's because the orbit is so elliptical. That's why you have the inequality. 30 years in Gemini, 13 in Sag, 15 in Capricorn. So it's destined to leave in 2023. In the meantime, while we've been watching this, Pluto go through hitting all these different points, you have to understand that the United States sun is over here at 13. When I see a chart, I deal with it in quadrants. I divide the chart in 4 pieces automatically in my brain. I see Cancer, Pluto, Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, Libra. I see it all at one time. Because in astrology, the main harsh aspects are when a planet is with you, when it's opposite you, or when it's at a right angle. So whether I see a planet at 24 Aries or a planet at 24 Cancer, I treat them all the same. They have different meanings, but you're still under the stress of the planetary combination. I told you so many times, that's what Mr. Arroyo is so good at, talking about the combination of stellar influences when one planet hits another. Now, yes, when they're trine 120 degrees away, 60 degrees away, the sextile, all those things still work. But my hands are so full just watching the conjunctions, the squares, and the opposition that's what I specialize in. Okay? All right. So I could tell you all kind of stories that I wrote newsletters all through here as Pluto was hitting different things in Capricorn, as it was opposing things in Cancer, as it was squaring things in Aries and squaring things in Libra. Forget the houses, as I told you. In the meanwhile, out of nowhere, a couple of years ago, Saturn came into Capricorn about 2 years ago. Saturn is here at the end of Capricorn, going backward. It's going to go back a little ways, and then not too long from now, 3-4 months, it's going to go into Aquarius. It spends 28 months in a sign. It's very regular because it's a circle. 2 years, 4 months. 2 years, 4 months. As a matter of fact, I want you to start watching this. Write this down. Start looking in your life, and you will be stunned at how many things in your life lasted 28 months. How many relationships went 28 months? How many jobs went 28 months? How many TV series went 28 months? It's a natural mini cycle of Saturn's larger orbit, which is 28 years. That's the Saturn return. Age 28, age 57 or so, age 84, 3 Saturn cycles. But you will notice, without a doubt, the 28 months cycle is really very, very significant. You'll see things ending at that time. Hello, Claudia. All right. Now, so Saturn came in here, and it's so strong when it hits Capricorn because it's coming home to Papa. Saturn and Capricorn are the 2 signs that rule fatherhood. So it became naturally very strong when it hit Capricorn. couple of years ago, and it sent its shockwaves through all the things already happening in Capricorn. And in the last 2 years, it's crept up, and in the last 6 months, it's gone and joined Pluto. And when it hit Pluto in January is when we got the virus. Saturn, Pluto. Very soon, Saturn's going to get on its way, go into Aquarius, then it's going to go into Pisces, and it's going to get out of our way. But it's not going to even make much difference because Pluto squared to Eris. This is what's causing all the real big trouble now. Pluto's at 22.5. Eris is at 24. When I was born, Eris was at 6. So my whole lifetime, it's gone from 6 to 24. It's moved 18 degrees in my life. It will spend 120 years in the sign of Aries. It entered Aries in 1921. It's going to leave Aries in about 2040. But when did we become aware of it? See, astrology, the planet's not there until somebody sees it. It's very quantum. I should put the doctor on the spot. She should have a sign that says, if you can't see it, it ain't there. Oh, okay, she's got the dog this time. She got the dog praying for her. Okay, thank you, Doc. I don't care what the doctor puts up. She's all right with me. I don't care what she does. Take a planet, for example, like Pluto. Surely, Tesla was born before 1930. But according to astrology, we didn't see Pluto till 1930, so Pluto didn't exist. So for the massive people that were born before 1930, you may as well not put Pluto on their chart. But the exceptional souls, exceptional psyches, already vibrating with this energy, because of course Pluto's out there. And we certainly know that Mr. Tesla has Pluto rising in his first house. You can see it on his face. And let alone all the work he did. Same with all the planets, okay? So when we find Eris, and we label Eris and give her a name in 2006, she didn't exist till then. Just so happens we discover 79 other planets while we're discovering Eris. Whoa! So what do the astronomers and astrologers say to each other? Well, we had to add either 80 new planets, which would give us 90, or we had to do away with Pluto and Ceres. Ceres is the largest asteroid that's out there. She's rather mild and kind of beautiful. She has to do with having a green thumb. So they chose, Pluto doesn't choose. They chose to demerit and disqualify and demote Pluto in 2006 to the status of a dwarf planet. To astrologers, we don't goof around. It's still a planet, okay? Keep that in mind. Astronomers, astrologers, two different things, okay? So now we see that people were born, my days in 1952, Eris was at 6 degrees of Aries. I got a planet right at 6 degrees. It sure as hell makes a lot of sense to me now. So some people will vibrate with the planet before it's known. Some people won't. Now, once it's known, hello, here we are. Now, let's go back. So, not only do we discover Eris, and she's at the 24th degree of Aries, but when we discover her in 2006, where's Pluto? Pluto leaves Sag in 2008. So Pluto is about 28 degrees of Sag when we discover Eris, which is probably 23, 22 of Aries. But now, where is she? She's here and he's here. Now, you got to get used to the speed. 540 years. So just put Eris there and leave her there. She takes 540 years to go around the circle. In the United States chart, I forget where she was. Well, she's gone 256 years. So she's gone about halfway around the zodiac since we've been a country. Pluto has gone all the way around. Neptune is about 186 years. Neptune is about 186 years, about 15 years per sign. Remember, these are houses. These are not signs. The signs are out here. Okay? It's kind of confusing part. All right. So now, if you've got something, a planet of yours or an angle of yours, around 24, 25 of Capricorn or Cancer or Aries or Libra, then Pluto and Saturn and Eris are all over you, like a cheap shirt. They're all over you. Pluto and Saturn and Eris. I didn't even need to put Neptune here, really. I got that on here for another reason. So, Pluto, let's just take this off for now. Just talk about Pluto squaring Eris. All right, gotta remember, Pluto and Eris are very similar. They're both monumental, collective energies. They have to do with the masses. Pluto's a little more forgiving. Pluto, if you are working at your evolution, Pluto will give you a very nice boost. If you're not, it'll get rid of you. Eris just loves to raise hell. She just loves to raise hell. Eris's negative side is equal to TRUMP. That's what you've been seeing. Chaos. The guy knows he can't do anything properly. He just throws everything up into the chaotic gods and lets everybody else fight it out. Okay, now, the fact is, we've got Pluto and Eris traveling this way for a long time now. For at least another 10 years. People are asking me, when's all this going to change? When's it going to go back to normal? Well, it's not going to go back to normal. That's gone. Okay, are we going to survive it? I don't know. I don't know. I do not know. I think my cat's trying to survive getting in the door. Okay, how does it affect his chart? Trump's? Oh, we're going to get into that. It's destroying it right now, just completely killing it. Okay, so what's happening to us? Out of nowhere, the United States, of all people, playing with their little spinners, right? The United States has to suddenly start taking everything really seriously. I think Susan is drawing a picture on her lens or something. Okay, all of a sudden, we have been forced to take our life really seriously. That's what's going on. And especially when you juxtapose it against where Pluto was. It was 13 years in Sagittarius. And while that was going on, 95 through 08, things weren't that serious. Then all of a sudden 08 hit and the bills came due and everything got serious. So the answer to this time period, I was talking with John about this before the show turned on today. The answer to this time period is to get really serious. Hold on a minute, please. What do I mean by that? Well, John and I were talking about is there hope and all that. All I can say is this. Here's my opinion. I have two opinions. One, I think we're in the mess we're in because we got off on the wrong foot on what God is. We let a lot of people tell us what God is and what God isn't, and it filled all of us with so much guilt and so much we're low lives and save the rich like me and all that stuff. I think it really got us off on the wrong foot. Secondly, whether we're going to survive or not. And there's a lot of evidence now that we ain't going to make it. And I ain't got to tell you. There's a lot of evidence we ain't going to make it. I don't know. But what I was telling John, in my opinion, is all we can do is get straight with the Lord, get straight with God, get straight with Jesus, get straight with Allah, get straight with whatever you call it. Because they're all telling us this isn't real. They're all telling us this. Buddha tells us it's not real. And it sure looks real, it sure feels real. But the point I'm saying is do your best and get straight with your own spiritual life for yourself. Now, with Pluto squaring Saturn, Saturn is involved. Pluto and Saturn are squaring Eris. The problem with Eris is she's really looking for somebody to blame. That's her nature. She's not as evolved as the other planets. She's looking for somebody to blame. You see any of that in the world? Well, boy, what I keep seeing is these visions of these guys with shotguns in the back of their pickup trucks driving by and getting ready to shoot somebody. They don't know who. They just want to shoot somebody. I don't know why. They're going to solve it that way. On the other hand, you've got this wonderful surge coming from the healing and coming from all kind of spiritual movements and the resurgence of the grand feminine and the resurgence of Course in Miracles. And there are all kind of really great things happening with people's consciousness and things that people are starting. Okay? So it's not decided. It's up to us. I got people, you wouldn't believe some of the letters I get. The despair I get from some people that tell me there'll be a tomorrow. I say, I'm not in charge of this. Don't give me this power. I don't want this power. And I say, what do you think? That's the magic question I get them with. You're asking me, what do you see? What do you guys say? I don't think you see something much different than I do. So let's go back and we're going to get into some interesting things here. Watch. All right. So, while Pluto's going around here for a while, Saturn, and relatively within a year, Saturn's going to get out of the picture. Okay? And it's not going to do a lot in Aquarius. It's going to do some things. But still, it's going to leave these two to fight it out. Pluto and Saturn. Pluto and Eris. And I can't even get 95% of the astrologers to even look at Eris. They won't even put Eris on their chart. Now, when Eris was found, she was found with 4 others, Make, strange names, Hamiao, these unusual names. Hamiao takes 10,000 years to go around the circle. So they're out there too, and they're moving real slowly. They're part of the 80. So astrologers are very reluctant to put even one new planet on there. Which is how we got to Eris. I'm sorry, how we got Chiron. Chiron's sitting about here now. We discovered Chiron in 1977. Chiron every 51 years. We found that she's very important. Now, people are starting to see Eris. You're starting to see it in the literature. People are starting to put it on their charts. Because when you put a new planet on the chart, everything changes. You've got oppositions, you got squares, you got T-squares you never had before. And it's moving real slowly. All right. So, there's no doubt about how you translate it. When you look at Pluto, this is the Pluto-Eris era. We are seeing a major new epoch. We've had them before. Like I tell people, I can't tell you what day the Dark Ages started and stopped. So that's not on a certain day. But this is comparable to a Dark Age starting or stopping. All right. Now, we all know the secret. I mean, there's no big secret. It's the same damn thing going on since way back when. It's the people with the money screwing the people without the money. It's not, it doesn't take a clever astrologer to see that. And then you got to tell me before I'm convinced what's going to convince these rich people to give up their money. They're going to get in a good mood one day. What's it going to be? How's it going to happen? We can't even get medical insurance for everybody. Okay, so the good thing about this is these are really powerful planets. This device did not come out of nowhere. This is selling like hotcakes. Cures for cancer, cures for Parkinson. These things are just around the corner. Because when the powerful planets get active is when these things happen. And when you get little teenagers out of Sweden that just kick everybody's butt and smile at you while they're on the spectrum. And they smile right through you because you know what you're doing. She knows you know. So we've got the potential to be extremely powerful. And that's what you got to get full of after watching this show and things like this and start to really give this thought is we can no longer, like Dan Rather was saying in his article, we can no longer take these jive-ass American answers to things. We got to give very serious answers to people. No, you're not right. No, he's not going to win. No, this is not right to do. No, we're not going to sit on some black man's neck for 8 minutes until he dies and say it's okay. No, this is Eris speaking. Eris is the planet that gets fed up. She's fed up. This is what's walking those streets. It's Erisian energy. Now, watch this as something that I realized, which is why I came up with today's topic. Watch this. So, while all this is going on and Pluto and Eris keep shifting a little bit and shifting a little bit, in the United States chart, Pluto is going to return. Okay? What's going on right now? Let's take a little pause for the cause. Let's take a little pause for the cause. What's going on right now? Let me see the charts I got here. No, that's not right. Chart. This is Trump's chart. All right. And this is double chart. Trump in the middle, transits on the outside. Okay. This is what's going on right now, tonight, yesterday, with our leader's chart. Now, as I was showing people before the show, here's Trump in the middle. Here's the planets right now. You'll notice right now, while the last few days have been screwy, Mars has been opposite Mercury. They're very quick-moving planets. Mars and Mercury have been opposite each other, and they're sending their vibes over to Saturn. 27, 25, 26, and look at his weak spot. Venus, Saturn, 23, 25. These planets are sending all that power up against his Saturn, Venus. And that's the little part where he's trying to hide. He's trying to hide because nobody respects him. And he's trying to hide because everybody's being unfair. Now, I will tell you something that I don't know, and I challenge any astrologer to answer the question, why he gets away with so much. I mean, there are so many things. There have been so many bowling strikes that have struck in his bowling alley for so long, and yet the pins won't fall down. I don't know what the answer is. I got some ideas. It's like Humpty Dumpty just won't come off the wall. I got a lot of ideas, but I don't want to guess. He's getting smashed in what's happening to him because you don't fool the planets, because the planets are life. What's happening, he's just becoming smaller. He's becoming little infinite pieces. Little tiny little pieces. He's just disintegrating. Well, you could see that with his language and with the things he says, which are just unbelievable. So he's disintegrating. But the question remains, while this is happening, where's everybody else? Where's the rest of this thing called Congress? Where are they standing up to him? Where's everybody else that's letting him do all this stuff? Okay, and I started to think about this today, and I've talked to some German people when I've been overseas. The German people are the reason that Holocaust happened. If the Germans didn't have hate in their hearts to the level they did, then Hitler could not have worked on them to the degree that he could have got them to comply. The same thing's happening here. So he used it, just like Trump uses it. They didn't have the strength to stand up and say, no, that's where we're at now. And that's what Dan Rather's talking about. We're at that point right now. We're going to let this guy keep feeding off our negative side. We're going to keep Fox News rich and highly watched and, making all kinds of money because it's rubbing up against our negative side. Or are we going to stand and stop it? But it's really dangerous when if you have something to say, Susan, go ahead. I noticed you moved your hand. You got your microphone.
Yeah, who's going to stop Fox? I mean, that's state-run TV. That's Trump's mouthpiece. And the people that listen to him that's all they listen to. They believe that to be gospel truth. There's no getting through to people who aren't open and listening to any other view.
That's exactly right. Well, the question is, are you going to get off your butt and start something like these Republicans who've revolted and they're speaking out against Trump? Are you going to get off your butt and do something? Or are you going to be the Jupiter-Venus thing we have in the United States chart where we just want it nice and easy and let somebody else do it? That's what's happening here. And you can definitely point your finger right at the German people for what happened in the Holocaust, and you can point right at the American people for all these people dying of COVID.
Yeah.
For him to say this is a state issue, I mean, we should have all fallen out of our chairs at that moment. And he says something crazier every day. Now he's talking about we don't really need ballots. I mean, are we going to just keep swallowing and stuff? Anyhow, I don't want to get off into that. That can go on forever. Okay, but what I want to point out to you is while the Pluto return is going on in the next couple of years, and the Pluto return is going to go on for at least 10 years, the Pluto Eris is going to keep squaring. The Pluto opposite Trump's planets are going to keep opposing. Pluto opposed the United States planets at 13 degrees. Which put us on this route in the last, 7 years or so. When Pluto hit our sun, United States sun, it got us started into identity crisis. Now, take a look at this. Right now, and don't you think this ain't major, and I've told you about this before, look where Neptune is. Neptune moves very slowly. He was born during an eclipse, of course. Sun and moon, Sun and moon, 2220. He was born like 4 hours before the eclipse. Look where Neptune is. It's been 1920, he's been sitting there. Neptune squaring his sun and moon. Okay, and I told you his chart represents the chart of the country. And when Neptune hits your moon, the moon represents the public. So this is pull one over on somebody. That's what Neptune does. Neptune is shady. Neptune is either very spiritually uplifting and wonderful, or it's shady and smoke and mirrors. So what's happening and what's going on recently is he's doing all this crazy stuff because of one reason, Dan Rather said, and he's exactly right. He's trying to stay out of jail. So the main thing about this is this. Pluto's been hitting all kinds of things, and when Pluto goes over into Aquarius, it's going to just kick butt with all the fixed signs. Right, in 2023, it's going to be hitting all the Aquarians and Leos and the Tauruses and the Scorpios. So you feast or famine with the zodiac, it's very common. But the really good thing about all this, the really good thing about this, and we've got to get this out amongst people somehow, and I don't know how, is these planets empower us. And Pluto and Eris will empower us to a dimension we've never even thought of before. This is so extremely powerful. Well, they would not have come to us along with 79 other planets unless we were ready. That's what this means. And I don't know about you, but I think we're going to have to start giving people some shocking answers. I mean, how much of life is, hey, how are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. How are you? You mean such automatic. Well, we're going to have to start saying, I'm really shitty. Now I'm feeling really shitty, and here's why I'm feeling shitty. And, you know, I don't know about you. I'm getting a little too old, but I don't know if you guys are going to consider relocating to another country, but I sure would think about it if I were younger. Anyhow, let's go back to the chart. I'll take this off now. Go back to this. Okay. Share the screen, go back to here. There we go. Okay. So there are all kind of people having all these dreams about Jupiter's going to go into Aquarius and Saturn's going to go into Aquarius and all these different things are going to happen and all these other planets, etc. But these two are at it. These two are going to stay at it. And when the Pluto returns, it starts at 27 degrees. This will be around 25. So what we're going to see, whether you like it or not, we're going to see a new world order. And I don't know what that means because I've heard so many people talk about so many different kinds of new world orders. And definitely what you're seeing and what Liza has been talking about for years now is going to be a lot of grassroots campaigns. We're going to have to start feeding ourselves, feeding our communities, defending ourselves, defending our communities. We're seeing institutions fall apart completely, all around. And why are they falling apart? Because they weren't held up. Okay, Neptune is on this president's sun and moon. And I've learned this years ago. I don't know who taught me this, but boy, were they right. Neptune is the planet that once it moves on after it hits something, you say to yourself, where the hell did that come from? Where all these things go? Where'd all the kids go? Kids are gone. Kids are gone. Don't have a job anymore. Things just dissolve. That's how Neptune works. They just dissolve. And the reason why they dissolve and they go away is one word. And that word is neglect. Neglect. The Democrats knew the Mexicans were here. They were getting votes. The Republicans sure knew they were here because they were getting cheap labor. Everybody knew. It didn't become a problem until it became a problem. They were here for a long time. That was a Neptune trick there. The weapons of mass destruction, another Neptune trick. All right. So I know we're all going to vote. I don't know about you, but I'm going to continue to try to get Dina Patrick on the show. She's really, really busy. She's out of North Carolina, and she's so busy starting all these organizations, these grassroots campaigns. And she's not really an astrologer, but she's going to really be good for us to hear because she's a one-woman army, a one-woman kick-butt army. And I think we can all use hearing from somebody when we think about, I'm just one person, what can I do? And I'm going to have to talk her into it because she's not convinced that it's a good match. I don't care. I think she's a real good match, and it's time for us to hear it. Now, I don't know what you guys are going to do, but I think we should spend the rest of this time talking about this. And if we can't get far on this, I'll be glad to look at somebody's chart. But go ahead and turn your mics on if you have things to say. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to try to influence? because we sure need help. Her name is Dina Patrick, D-E-N-A, Patrick, out of North Carolina. Just a delightful Virgo, real hardworking, and she started different organizations called Wishadu and things like that. And she was a target. Um, she was a target by right-wing groups because she was supposed to be left-wing communist radical. Because she was starting all these institutions like, hey, I've got 2 chairs. Would you like one? I got 4 mattresses. Would you like to have a couple? She was starting to exchange and use her intelligence. So they targeted her on Glenn Beck's show and put her name up there and targeted her as one of the real left-wing dangers that we have to watch out for in this country. Okay, Peggy, everybody else, what do you got to say? What do you got to say, everybody? Start with the Reverend. I can always put the Reverend on the spot. Ask to unmute the Reverend. What are you
You
what are
can.
you going to do?
I've always, you know what I'm going to do? I hang the American flag outside of the house. We have a pretty major street in front of this house every morning, and I say, land of the free, home of the brave, and I am for we the people. And that's what I do every day, no matter where I go or what I do. I am interacting to give power to the people. We've got to take it back. It's not one other person. It's us together.
Excellent. Excellent. I admire Virgo's mentalities. I sure do. And that strong sense of service to others. Thank you, Doctor. How about Peggy, our other Virgo? What's on her mind? You going to be doing a lot of healing with your healing?
I'm a real wimp about
Oh, you're
that.
about a winner.
I think I may have to because I'm getting affected by all this Saturn Pluto stuff. It's good for me now, and then it's going to beat on me, so I'll have to do something with it. But I think that being a Virgo, I don't look at the broad. I mean, like you guys do. I look at the little details, and I think I just want to interact with my community, possibly just people I meet, maybe set up a business and try to heal with the healing. I know I want to heal myself to prove that the thing works. Then I'll have proof and I'll be able to share that with people. And that, as they said, they wanted a bunch of people to run the Healy so that it could affect the world with the
Yeah,
vibrations.
we're building that up now. Healy's only been out a year and a half.
I know, but if we could,
we're going to start targeting the whole planet.
well, if we could get groups of Zoom people all doing it at the same time,
That's right.
and then build a community in a good way, so we don't get targeted. I mean,
That's very good.
that's what I'm looking at from that level, because
Very good.
I'm trying to evolve now, and that's where I'm at, rather than being political or being out there going grassroots and
That's
stuff.
right. I want the unhappy people to be happy.
Yeah.
Come on,
So-
Marcia Budd. Thank you, Peggy. I
Yeah.
know Marcia Budd gets all kind of thoughts in her head of things she can do. What do you what on your mind? You are muted. You are still muted. Ask to unmute. I will ask you to. Now you go. There you go. Hello.
I heard an incredible story today on the radio, an African-American man, and discussing all the injustices that have been happening and they're continuing to happen. And he talked about it being like a vase, being up on a shelf somewhere, and the vase broke. It started, when slaves were first brought here. This is for the African American, not the Native American. But the vase broke into a million pieces, and then broke into more and more and more and more and more pieces, and how the African American community is disintegrating. And then you spoke tonight about how Trump is disintegrating. And then we're talking about the collective trying to bring us all together. Maybe the Healy is something that can help the pieces come back together.
Oh, I think it can, yes. More importantly, I think that it's that gritty, angry feeling. This is how Eris works. She just gets pissed off at the injustice, and she's not going to have it anymore. That's Eris.
And so the little things that people do, or if it's big things that people do, it doesn't really matter, because it's all within the same universe. And even if we just give a little kindness to somebody, that's something big.
Right.
So
That's
anyway.
right. And the fact that these people, you people, us people, keep coming here every week is a really nice sign. I mean, take 2 hours of somebody's time is a big deal these days. And I'm very honored that you would come back every week. And I don't take it lightly. Thank you very much, Marcia. There's some good stuff. Come on, Sarah. I know you're going to go kick somebody's butt somewhere. I'm asking you to unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself. You are still muted.
Oh,
There.
okay.
There you go. What's on your mind?
Okay. On one hand, I really want to jump in action and say, what can I do? I don't know that the ringing bells thing is with the pandemic. On one hand, I want to do that, and then on the other hand, I'm doing research and finding it feasible that I could live in Paris. I mean, so I'm going back and forth with all of these things, and sometimes all at the same time. So I kind of feel as though I've been thrown back against a wall and feeling sort of like a lot of anxiety, but the kind of that wants to push me into getting into some political action. But on the other hand, I'm thinking moving out of the country is starting to sound very attractive. And I'm looking at it in a way of like, oh, this is feasible and that's feasible. So it's like
You could do a lot of good things in Paris.
yes, I've been studying my French every single night since February. So I guess
That's very admirable. It really is. Well, we could use more good vibes coming out of France, that's for sure.
That's my
Claudia?
heritage. It's my heritage anyway.
There you go. Thank you, Sarah. Come on, Claudia. You got you got things on your mind. What's stirring in your brain?
Well, I think all this is absolutely, it's necessary for real change. So it's necessary for things to transform, and eventually it will lead. I have a lot of faith in the younger generation. I think the kids that are coming up right now are really going to help facilitate that thinking of progressive thinking differently, and also thinking more compassionately. But to me, I mean, I can't help it. I think it all comes, it's about love, and eventually I absolutely believe it's about love and getting closer to God. But even just if you don't call it God, if you don't call it spirit, whatever you call it, it's about self-love. And so we can love others. And I mean, and we can really love others, not just say we love others, but actually really act on it. And the Healy's definitely, I mean, my mind is blown with this thing.
Oh yeah, you had a Healy session yesterday, right?
Oh my gosh.
You had a 30-minute session. Tell us about it. Your healer, wait a minute, your healer was in Pittsburgh, and you were where?
In Georgia. I live in Atlanta.
Okay, and what happened during your, Linda Veras gave you a 30-minute session. What happened?
She did she looked at my chakras, and yes, everything that she assessed, it was absolutely right on the money. And she did a 13-minute Healy, she ran the Healy for 13 minutes, and then she did because I have a lot of physical pain. I have a lot of pain in my back, my joints, my hips, my neck. I have carpal tunnel. I didn't even tell her about the carpal tunnel, but the Healy said that's where I was feeling pain. And I'm not kidding you. I woke up the next morning and I have not felt pain since then. Like, I just can't believe it. I cannot believe it, and I won't shut up about it because I just tell everybody.
Leos are not made to shut up. Fix fire. Let the fire burn. Well, that's wonderful, honey. That's wonderful.
I haven't felt this vibrant and this normal. I mean, I feel like the me that I knew before, I was in pain all the time, and it's exhausting to be in pain all the time. And I had the most, but not only just physically, I felt I feel calm, and I don't know. I had these most
Claudia,
beautiful.
we're all very happy for you, and let's take a look at this now. The God energy, whatever you call it, the energy, the archetypal force that gave us all this Pluto Eris stuff is also giving us the Healy. And down deep, when you look at all these people on the back of their pickup truck with their shotgun, they don't really want to shoot anybody. They just want to heal themselves. So we have a lot of hope, a lot of good things to look forward to. And I just received a curveball in my head. And I really appreciate all the things that you've all said. Very good. And I told you that if we had time, I would save time to do one chart. And what I heard coming out of Sarah Sachs, coming out of a Taurus over there with Uranus and Taurus, is that I need to take a look at Miss Sarah's chart. What do you think, Sarah? I got the mute problem with you once again.
Go for it. Yes.
Okay, dear. Hold on 1 minute. Let's get you on. Thank you, everybody. And I'll take any more questions and comments at the end if you have more to say about our issues. But let me get Sarah's chart aboard here. I don't think we want to mix Sarah's chart with the president, do we? I don't think we want to see that. That wouldn't be too happy. Okay, here's Sarah. Here's your chart. All right. Okay, so let me get it on your screen. When I paint it, it's on my screen. I got to paint it a second time to be on your screen. Here's Sarah, born in Pittsburgh, a Taurus, 5 degrees, and Uranus right now is at 10. Uranus spends about 7 years. Uranus is pretty steady. 7 years, 7 years, 7 years, 7 years. 84 years go all the way around. So you've had Uranus just recently go over your sun. And one reason you're not getting the best of it is it's still suppressed in the 12th house. You have to picture the 12th house as very muddy, cloudy. Things are never clear here. Now, we know she's a mentalist, and we know that she is a medium with tremendous psychic powers. And look at her Mercury. She's born with it 2 degrees from Eris. So I don't have to ask her if she's a hellraiser. I don't have to ask her if she's got really powerful pro-feminine ideas in her head, because I know she does, because that's what Eris is about. She's about bringing the divine feminine back. Okay, so did you guys know? Let's see, I'm not going to get into that. Here's Venus rising in Taurus. There's Taurus rising. She's a double Taurus. So you could be single, double, or triple. And that means your sun sign and your moon, or your sun sign and your rising, or all three. Single, double, triple. She's a double Taurus with a moon in Aquarius. Now, we already know that the two of the most stubborn signs of the zodiac are Aquarius and Taurus. And she's got all 3 planets there. So I would think that maybe she's a little bit stubborn.
Just a little.
Just a little bit. But that's their power. You're not going to change them. They're going to stay fixed where they're at. Damn it, that's it. Okay, let's get back to the chart. Now, the way things happened just now, when I turned my gaze towards her, is not a coincidence. We don't control these things. You're going to see, we don't know what it is yet. I haven't seen her chart in 6, 7 years. Let's see what's happening. First of all, she got the moon up there by itself. That's called the moon rising. So the day she's born, the night she's born, she's actually born in the daytime. The sun has just risen, but the moon probably is still a little visible. The moon's still very strong. This gives her very lunar traits. Even though the moon in Aquarius is a very cool position, it's not a very emotional position. The moon is accentuated itself. When the moon is accentuated, she picks up lunar or Cancerian traits, just because the moon is up there and it's in the beginning of the house of friendship. So this tells you that when Sarah wraps her arms around you and you're one of her buddies, I mean, she means it. You're one of her buddies and she's going to take care of you. Now, we got this very, very strong mental ability opposite what, 5, 6 degrees opposite Neptune. I'm talking 6 degrees, 6 degrees, 8 degrees. And you wonder why she's a medium and why she's giving you readings from people in other places. When I get mediums around me or psychics, I don't fool around. I go to the chart and see whether it's valid. I just do. I'm an astrologer. This woman has astounding mental abilities. Let's keep working. 6 degrees, 6 degrees, 8 degrees. It's really close. Here's Jupiter over here next to Chiron. Chiron is at, I don't like to wear my glasses anymore, 16 and 24 degrees apart in Libra, giving her very nice, pleasant working skills with people. And I've seen her work the room, work with groups, and she's very smooth, yes. Look at that 4th house. Look at the 4th house of the past, where Pluto and Mars are sitting, like 2 launch rockets ready to launch. What the hell are they doing in the 4th house? What the hell happened in her 4th house? Her early upbringing. Now, Mars is here. Saturn is not far away. There's the nadir, which rules your background, which rules your past lives, which rules your parents. And look, Saturn is on one side, 7 degrees away, and Mars is over here, 5 degrees away. And in between these 3 lovelies sits the nadir. And these are the 3 planets that Big Ben has in his 8th house. That's why a lot of people can't warm up to Big Ben Roethlisberger. They still find him shady and they don't trust him exactly, even though he seems like a nice guy. But that Mars, Saturn, Pluto can be very tricky in the 8th house. Okay, what this tells me, I don't know enough yet, Sarah, but you came out of a violent situation. You came out of a past life or a war, warring tribes. I don't know what it means yet. We're going to just write with a pencil. You came out of a situation that was violent, and it's very likely that you grew up next to a man who was very undisciplined and quite possibly violent. This would have manifested when you were 8. Mercury is at, Mars is at 1, Pluto is at 9, subtract the 2, 8 degrees. So at age 8, that Mars ran into Pluto. So it's very possible that around age 8, if not 8, when the nadir hit Pluto, that would be around age 13. So between the ages of 8 and 13, this manifested in your life. And then here comes Saturn. So there's all this stuff in the past. We don't know what's going on. So what we'll do is we'll pause here. We'll pause for a moment. We'll say, what the hell's going on? What is this lifetime about? Coming out of all this violence, or even wars, but coming out of it so incredibly mentally sensitive. Let's go to the past life chart. It's intriguing. All right. All right. What I call the past life chart is the spiritual transcript. Here's yours. This is the chart. This is the review chart that you sit with your spirit guides before you take a life. You're reviewing your past lives, the tenor, the tempo of your past lives. This is what your past lives have been like. What do you got at the top? You're the mental leader of the crowd. Mercury, Pluto. Just like in my chart, you're the mental leader in your group. I don't know why, but you are. Look at the sun next to Eris, next to Neptune, opposite Jupiter. You're like a priestess. This is like a priestess. This house, this axis, the third house axis, and the ninth house axis, this axis, Arroyo tells us, is the axis of learning. This is the small time learning. This is the big time learning. This is the teacher and the student. So it shows me clearly that you've been teaching and teaching and teaching for a long, long time. And it just pours through you. And Pluto is death. So it's not a surprise whatsoever that you've got a lot of experience dealing with those who've passed over. These people try to tell me that the 12th harmonic doesn't work. They try to tell me this. They don't even look. All right, let me get back on the screen. All right. So we know you got this great capacity to live and learn from God in God's direction. Here's the healer in you. Chiron and Libra. She's very smooth, very tactful, and she's opposite Mars. What's she doing opposite Mars in Aries and making a T-square up to Mercury, Pluto? That's what this chart's all about. What is the Mars doing opposite to Chiron? She's got all this ability. I'll tell you exactly what this means. Somebody got in her face. She was too damn powerful, and they wanted to stop her, and they got in her face. That's what happened in these lifetimes, because she saw through all the yak. Well, I love to hear her when she's talking about Trump. I mean, she wants him. Oh, God, I'm not even going to say that. She just sees through BS. She sees through BS, and that is a Pluto quality. Okay, so it's clear to me that in the past lives, male or female, you've had this ability for a long time. Somebody wanted to stop you, and they fought with you somehow. So therefore, you sat with your spirit guides, and you said, in this new life, in the 50s or whatever, in this new life, I'm going to make sure I establish these new energies. I want these types of experiences in my new life to counter this. So let's go back and you compare the 12th harmonic to the birth chart, 12th harmonic to the birth chart. What gives rise? What did it inform? How did your past life inform your birth chart? So let's go take a look at the natal chart once again. Okay, remember what we saw. We saw the two major themes living with a lot of violence around her, and I think the violence was directed at her because she was just too damn good, and she just saw what was accurate, and people don't want to hear the truth, but they say they do, okay? So what'd she do? She puts the sun in the 12th house. Well, I'm going to be in the club. I can't say what I'm going to say, but maybe say what I can say. That's the 12th house. Okay, that doesn't make sense. She puts her moon in her feelings right there on her sleeve. We always know how she feels. Okay, but now, what is she doing? I know exactly what this means. I know exactly what this means. Let me work a little longer, but I know what this means. Uranus is coming. Okay. This is what I think. Uranus is a 10. In about a year, Uranus is going to cross that ascendant. And when it does, you're coming out of hiding. You're coming out of hiding. And the Pluto Mars that you got buried, you've been sitting on this volcano all this time. Just keep sitting on it, pushing it down. It doesn't want sat on. You saw what tonight's show was about, kicking some butt, telling idiots that they're idiots, and let's get with it. Getting up and giving inspiring readings and waking people up. It is not time, Sarah, anymore for your Libra planets. It's not time for you to be Miss Smooth and may I come to you next. It ain't that time anymore. It's time for you to do, I don't know how it's going to manifest. That's between you and your spirits. I don't know. But you got that stuff still simmering. Mars, Pluto is still in a quiet 4th house. 3 planets still in the 12th house. And the past life's all about, you're letting all these people, I don't know what you did, but you had to keep contending with these people fighting you. I think you're up to here. I think you're up to right here with all of it. Not there yet. That's a year away. That's Uranus crossing the ascendant. You're a year away. So I think if you go to Paris, spend the next year getting your own TV show. Because they love that stuff there. Get your own TV show. The Crazy Woman from America. Here she is. Okay. I got my own internet show. I did it. Okay. Then by a year from now, Uranus hits that ascendant. And what do you think is going to happen when Uranus hits the ascendant? It comes out. Now, tell me what you think about this.
That's it. It's all very interesting. I often wonder how much longer am I going to have to, are we all going to have to be like this because of quarantines and health?
No, get the word "we" out of this.
Okay, so yes, I think how much longer will I be? Yeah, will I be hanging around here before I really burst out?
Well, what I'm saying to you is I don't think it's some formula hidden in an astrology chart. I don't think you've been ready. And I think you've been real close. I really do. I think you've been close and close and close and close, and you're really close. Is that true?
Yes, I do believe so. It is.
Well, you
definitely.
got a year. In my opinion, you got a year. And there's
Well,
not much you can do about it. And I'm going to tell you another thing about this. It will not be Paris.
You don't think so? It's something I'm looking at
I know
right
it won't
now.
be Paris.
Yeah.
Uranus takes you to not London or Paris. It takes you to Harvard or Grace, Maryland. And it takes you to Terranera, Italy. These little weird places like, how and I end up here? That's what Uranus does.
That's appealing. That's actually very appealing to me too.
Okay, now tell me something, because I know this is right. I know it. What homework do you need? You've been studying your French, which is really tremendous. Well, what homework do you need to do for one more year? Because I know you're a hell of a reader. I've seen it.
Yeah, I've been working on my spiritual life, but I've also been working so I can work online. And I feel like this whole thing has given me the opportunity to work online so I can expand myself and go anywhere and be international, and that would be the springboard. So when
and guess which planet takes people online?
Was that Uranus?
Uranus takes you online. So it's coming. It's coming. And I think when you get there, you're going to need to turn around and do a real good snub the nose at all these people and beings and whatever they were in the past and just say, go bug somebody else. Well, you just leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. And I'm looking at Susan. And Susan does the same thing. She's kind of a...
That's why we're good for, that's why she and I are good friends.
Oh, of course you are. But I tell you what, look at this, out of nowhere, this reading came about. And this reading came about because we pooped out and didn't have anything else to say about the other subject. And I told you, and the reason I did your chart is because I've done everybody else.
Oh, well, that's good. I was wondering when my turn was going to come.
Well, you're not always here, and that's why.
Right.
But this is, without a doubt, now I want to do one more thing for you. Hello, Deborah. It's nice to see you. Let's look at your sixth harmonic. The sixth harmonic is the chart of Virgo. 6 is Virgo. And that harmonic is done, you take the degree of the planet. So if it's 15 Aries, it's the 15th degree of the zodiac. If it's 15 Taurus, it's the 45th degree of the zodiac. You take the degree and multiply it times the number, put it back on the circle. That's how a harmonic is. The sixth harmonic is your destiny. It is your Joseph Campbell. It is your hero's journey. It's what you should be doing. And when I get clients that use that what's the word they use? Be blocked. They use the word they're blocked. I'm blocked. I'm blocked. I'm stuck. That's the word.
Stuck.
When I get people with the S word, stuck. You're not stuck unless your hand is underneath a damn boulder. Okay? You're not stuck. You're just holding on. And mainly what it means is you're not ready. That's all. It just means you're not quite ready. I look at the sixth harmonic, and that shows me where the failure to launch is, where the readiness has not been. But we're going to go look at it now. I've never seen it. And let's go see what we can find for you. Let's go to your sixth harmonic, which is this one. And we're going to see what it says for you. Okay. So this is your destiny, or your hero's journey. What does it say? Oh boy, Mars right at the bottom. I keep telling you folks, what planet's on the angle? Mars. Houston, Connecticut, this is ready. We're about ready. Are you ready? Because Sarah's going to kick some ass. Okay, Mars is in Aries. Whoo, blast off. All right, what do you got here? Uranus is 0, descendant at 6, Eris at 10. So this descendant is right between the middle, right down the middle of these two planets. And what that means is this is your social self. This is the kind of social image that you're going to portray to people. And that's got to do with, this is the lady with these off the wall, wild, crazy skills, but she's got them. She's genius. That's what this means. The sun is all important in these charts, and it's on the cusp of the 11th house. It's in the 10th. So the 10th in Scorpio means I'm standing up. I'm showing you my business. I got the lights on. I'm not hiding anything. And I'm not only that, when you come in my office, I'm going to empower you. I'm going to show you got the same ability also, which is just wonderful. Now, what are we doing here? Sun at 3, Eris at 7. Sun 3, Eris 7, 9, Neptune. T squared to what? Jupiter in Leo in the 7th house. Jupiter in Leo means, hello everybody, I'm glad you're here to talk because I got some things to tell you. Let me turn to Kim. Kim, I got a message for you. And boom, confidence in Jupiter and Leo is, I'm telling you what's right. I got it. There's no questioning this. Okay? And what could have happened here is the past life, Sarah, you could have gotten a little watered down just because you had so many people working against you. It just makes you doubt yourself. Plus, the good old Tauruses, they don't like things to happen fast. Well, this whole destiny chart is about Jupiter in Leo. Now, here's what's interesting. Watch this. Jupiter in Leo, I'm speaking with confidence. But here's the really interesting thing. Look at this. That's what happens when you think like I do. All right. 3 degrees, 7 degrees, 9 degrees, 4 degrees. Uranus has been over all of these recently. Uranus entered in 2018. Uranus entered Taurus in 2018. And then about 19, it went over the sun. It hit this planet. It hit that planet. It hit that Jupiter a year ago. So this is very common with Tauruses. You've already had somebody, you got all your matches sticking out, and somebody's walked by already lighting matches, walked right by you, but you didn't ignite. What happened? That's what's amazing. What happened? And I think I got an answer. You go ahead.
No, you go. I don't know. That's what
I think it's simply you weren't ready.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about from 2018. But that doesn't mean that it can't future be ignited, though.
Oh no,
From
no,
what I
you're
learned-
exactly right.
from what I learned there, from what I learned there, because sometimes I'm a later igniter with a
No,
lot of
that's
things.
exactly Torian. You're exactly right. And I think what happened is somebody walked by with their matchstick close to all your matches, and you saw, oh shit, it's all going to go. And you, by nature, you just can't stand explosions. You can't stand something suddenly happening in your life changing. And even if you got to put it off a couple years, this is so constant with my Taurus people. And then you revisit it when you're ready. And when you revisit, it's hell on wheels. Here we go.
Yeah, I had it was a very challenging mediumship class I had in the Netherlands. And we all had a very hard time in getting the concept of doing that. But I've felt recently that 2 years later, the sparks are starting from the difficulty I had with learning this new technique.
I think you're absolutely right, and I would not look at this in any kind of failure way, judgmental way.
No.
This is all just because you just need a little more time. And the reason Tauruses do is because when they're with you for good. That's a hell of an investment they make. Other people get with you, oh, I'm in, but then they're out. That's why. That's why Tauruses take their time, because with Taurus marriage, it's common. You have to date somebody for 7 years before they get married. It's common. But once they're glued to you, they're glued. So I think this is just terrific. I think this is really, really good. And I don't really have anything to say to you except the fact that time is right, and you do need some time to learn more about the internet and how to do shows and Zoom and all that.
Yes. It's been very interesting. It's been an interesting journey.
I think it's really going to go well, Sarah.
Oh, great. I'm excited now.
Did you see how effortless that was?
Right. Yes. After this feeling of doom I've had since Friday, this is great.
Well, I want to say something to you, and then Susan's got something for you. I want to say something to you, okay? And I really mean this. Don't listen to anybody. Anybody. Not me, nobody. Just go. And that Jupiter in Leo is really hell on wheels. That means you're going to get up and you're going to get on your stump and you're going to do your talk or whatever you want to call it, and it's going to pour through you. And don't doubt it. It's going to. Susan, what do you want to say?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, with Sarah, she does very nice lessons. As a former teacher, I really can appreciate a well put together lesson. She can change it on the fly. She's comfortable speaking to groups and individuals. So she has a very nice way about her with those kinds of things. And I think teaching metaphysics is going to blow wide open for her too. I think that's what's coming as well. But I wanted to ask you, you talked about if people are stuck, you go to the sixth harmonic. What if
oftentimes when I find people, and I find no reason in the birth chart why they're not moving, a lot of times I'll see the stuckness in the sixth harmonic.
What if you have somebody not who's stuck, but is confronted with so many options that they're incapable of picking only one, and they don't know where to put their energy?
That's a natural problem for Sagittarians. Sagittarians are not able to pick one. Sagittarians, well, I wanted one of each. Give me a dozen. You got one donut. Get one donut. No, I don't want one. Give me a dozen.
Right.
That's Sag. I have no answer for that.
So there isn't some harmonic that opens the
No,
door
I have
to.
no answer for Sag. Sag is a very tough energy. I want 3 husbands, and I don't want them talking to each other. And there ain't nothing wrong with it because I love them all.
Right.
Sounds
Don't judge me,
exhausting.
but I love them all.
For me, it's been careers.
Aquarius too. Same
To
thing.
have to-
Same thing. It's very
You
Aquarius.
have to pick
Now, I
one.
want to ask you something before I forget. Thank you, Susan. I really like
Thank
what
you.
you said, but I want to ask Sarah something before I forget.
Yeah.
I'm not stupid. That Mars Pluto is very strong, sitting in your 4th house. Was there a male in your life who had such an impact on you? You got Saturn, Mars, Pluto sitting at the nadir. That tells me that you're afraid to move because you're going to upset them or something, but you've got to break their hold on you. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I don't recall anything in a violent nature like that.
Okay, let's say it's not violent, but somebody who really strongly disagreed with you.
Well, I think my father and I used to go at it a lot of times, especially when I reached adolescence, that we had a lot of disagreements.
What sign is he?
He was Pisces.
We got to see the rest of his chart. Now there's something fear of flying because you're going to disappoint him or hurt him. Now what that tells me is that he was afraid to fly.
I think in certain ways, contrary to what you saw on the outside, that was probably true. Yeah, it took him a long time.
I think we've opened you up completely here. I think it's really beautiful reading. I think it's really, really good.
Wonderful.
And I'm really happy because look what we're doing. We're unleashing one powerful woman on the world here.
Well, that's great.
You know our new name, don't you?
What?
You haven't been around. Our new name is, Doc's not been around either. Our new name is Astrology Unplugged. What the hell?
That's great. Yes. What a wonderful reading that is.
Well,
because you told me things about that you hadn't told me, and because I think it's been 8 years actually, because it was right before the 2012 election.
Something moved me to look at that. You YouTubers, thank you for being with us. If you want to join us any week, 8 o'clock on Thursday nights Eastern, just go to Astrology Unplugged in Google. It'll take you right there. 8 o'clock Eastern till about 9:30 on YouTube. This will be on YouTube later tonight. Love you all. I don't know what we'll do next week. We'll see. But thank you and good luck to Sarah and good luck to everybody else. And don't take any crap from anybody. Sarah, don't listen to anybody.
Okay, I won't. I don't have any place, so that's...
Good night, everybody.